In the beginning of my journey, fiction books were not my priority. But as time passed, I decided to explore every part of it. And as I started diving deep, it made me feel things I never thought I could feel. It got me excited, made me dance, made me cry, put me in shock, made me blush and feel shy. And after this journey in 2022, I am here to recommend the top 10 must-read fiction books to you.
Hey you guys, welcome back to a little bit review. I have it very nice. I'm sending a lot of hugs and positivity to all of you. In today's video, I'm going to be recommending 10 best fiction books of 2022 that you can read in 2023. These books have totally moved me. I think I have something for everyone today. Some of them are beginner friendly, some of them are not. However, you can definitely give it a shot. So make sure you're seeing all the recommendations. Let's begin the video. Oh, and Merry Christmas. Oh, and did you see my specs and my clothes? Harry Potter, Hedwig. I think it just made sense to wear this. We are gonna start with none other than Murakami. I read, I think, 1 or 2 books by Murakami last year, and I was like, oh yeah, he's really nice, and oh yeah, like it was just an introduction into his world. And as a non-fiction reader, someone who's not really used to magical realism or fantasy or sci-fi, I was like, yeah, he's cool. However, this year I was like, you know what, this book is like really famous, and I just want to read it and see what the hype is about, whether it is worth it. And I also wanted to read it for another video where I'm talking about Murakami books. So I gave it a shot, and then I gave one more book a shot, and then I gave one more book a shot, and now I'm a Murakami addict. The 2 Murakami books that have completely changed the definition of fiction reading for me this year were Kafka on the Shore and After Dark. I am going to try my best to explain what the stories are, but I'll tell you one thing, it is almost impossible to explain what Murakami books are about, because you don't know. You start reading the book and you make up your own narrative and your own story. But let me just give it a shot. Kafka on the Shore is about a guy who ran away from his house. He's 15 years old. He knows about a dark prophecy from his father, and all he knows is that he has to run away, and he runs away. A 15-year-old runs away. On the other hand, we have Nakata. We have Nakata, who is just living his life, finding cats, talking to them, having fun, and then suddenly everything changes one day. The story takes a crazy turn when both of their lives collide with each other. I think I did a good job there talking about the books. This book is not for the faint-hearted. While the language is very easy, the storytelling, the plotting, the writing style is very complicated. However, I do suggest that if you want to get into the Murakami world and you don't know where to start from, and you want to read something crazy, one of his bests when it comes to going crazy, then this is a perfect book for you if you are a beginner. Please do watch my Murakami guide video also. I will link it in the description, so you will have a better understanding of how to start with his book. But apart from that, if you're an avid reader and you've not read this because oh my god, it's so hyped, I don't even know if I like it or not, read it. I was so shocked that it came out of someone's brain. I was so shocked that it came out of someone's brain. Oh my god, like I've not recovered from the fact that a man just sat at his desk and came up with this. He came up with this. I feel like you have to have some sort of spiritual awakening in order to write stories like this. Like, that's what I think. But Murakami just sat on his table all alone and came up with this, and whoa. The writing style is beautiful. Some of the quotations or the lines that you read will it's really good. I wish I knew other words except for really good, but I don't know what words I can use to describe him. Once you look up from the book and you look at the world will seem a little grey. On the other hand, we have After Dark, which is literally a dream. You know how dreams just keep shifting, and you are there, you are present in the dream, you are seeing what is happening, you are a part of it, but you're not really there. You're just observing, you're just seeing what is going on. That is basically After Dark. The narration in the story is you and the narrator, but we don't know who the narrator is. The narrator is taking you with him or her or it, and you're seeing everything, and you're exploring all of these relationships, and you're seeing what is going on, and crazy things are going on, but they are pieces of their different lives. Also, it takes place between 12 to the morning, which is like after dark, so that one night. And you know how things just randomly shift in your dream, like you are talking to someone and it'll suddenly become the face of someone else. That is basically what happens in this book. So if you want to like fall into a trance, you want to read what dreaming feels like, this is your book. This again, very easy language and a very beautifully written. However, if you are not used to the crazy of Murakami and you're not ready to accept a world where crazy stuff can happen, then don't read it. But if you want to be transported into a magical world, this is your book. Oh my god, like I've talked so much about these books and still the next book is the book where I read the book and I loved it. I picked it at random because I thought it's supposed to be like a funny thriller book, but it was not. Then I watched the movie, then I watched the movie again, then I watched the movie again, and it's not even available on any platform, so I paid for the movie all those times. It's that good, and oh my god, Oscar is gonna stay with me forever, and I'm just so grateful I read this book this year. I'm so grateful this book is a part of me, and the book is extremely loud and incredibly close. Can you see it? Yeah, extremely loud and incredibly close. This is the story of Oscar, who has lost his father. Days and months after the death, Oscar goes into his room just to look through his stuff to feel like his father is still there, and while exploring everything he finds a key. Now when his father was alive, Oscar and his father used to have a lot of like these exploration adventurous thing going on. This key was left behind by his father, and now Oscar is like, I have to find out what this key is for. He knew that this can be the last adventure that his dad left for him, and so he sets on a journey to find out which lock does this key open, and we go along with him on the journey. Along with that, we also read the backstory of his grandparents. The book, amazing. The movie, amazing. So good and so insanely emotional. You are looking at things from the perspective of a 9-10-year-old child who had just lost his father, and he's just not able to accept it, and you see his journey towards that acceptance, and it breaks your heart but makes it warm at the same time. All it is an emotional roller coaster. The language is very easy, so you can definitely read it as a beginner, and if you're like me who likes to read things from a kid's perspective, because it just gives you such a fresh, non-biased perspective, and it's just so full of feelings and emotions without the adult thoughts and oh my god you have to control yourself stuff. If you're looking for a book like that, this is your book. The next two books is a love story, and the book is Wrath and the Dawn and Rose and the Dagger. It's a part of a series, so both. It's a series. Once you read this book, you will have to read this book. Like, you won't be able to control yourself from reading this book. I've not yet finished it. I'm almost done with it, and oh my god, this is the story of Khorasan, which is a country that is not set up in our real world, where magic is a thing. It is the story of Khalid, a king who marries one woman every day. He wipes one woman every day and kills them in the morning, which is where we have the dawn. One of the women that he selects to marry and kill in the morning is the best friend of the protagonist in the book, which is why Shahzad decides to be one of the wives of the king. She's so angry at him that she'll risk her life to kill him. But guess what? They fall in love. Oh my god, it's insane. Both of them are supposed to kill each other, and both of them fall in love with each other. That is the story. It is beautifully written, and if you're the kind of person who really likes to read deep old school romance with the most beautiful quotations in the world, then you should definitely pick on this series. Now I must tell you that it does get draggy a little bit here and there, but apart from that, it is beautiful. The world is beautiful. Whenever the author is defining the food, you feel like it's in your mouth. That's how beautiful the details are. That's how realistic the details are. It is not the kind of romance that you find in books like Book Lovers or I don't know, The Love Hypothesis. That's very young and nice, and even though both of them in this also they're young, it's very very old school. So if you like old school love, this is your series. The next book that shook my core is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. This was the beginning of all of it, and which is why I wanted to talk about it in this video. This is the story of Lily, who meets a random guy on a random night. It's not a random night, it's a very sad night for her, and she's just looking for a place where she can just vent shit and not be serious and not be haunted by her past, which is where she meets this random guy who's Ryle, and they hit it off. However, Lily saved Atlas. Both of them were children actually. Lily saved Atlas at that time, and they have not met since then. It's been really long, but when her past comes into her present with Ryle, everything shifts, and after that all you get is emotional devastation. It is a very easy book to read, great for beginners. Oh, by the way, that series also is great for beginners. It's very easy to read, but be ready for a lot of emotional devastation, and make sure you're reading the trigger warnings before you read this book. I did not read the trigger warnings, but thankfully I was okay. I just did not know that books like this exist. You guys were driving me crazy and you were like, oh my god, you have to read it, you have to read it, and I have a vlog on it so you can go and check it out, like what my reaction was. When I read this, I was like, wait, what is this? And I was like, all nice and all for the first half of the book, and the second half of the book I was like stunned. I was stunned. So if you want an emotional roller coaster full of pain, honestly, just pain, then read this book. The book also has a second part, which is It Starts With Us, but let's not talk about that in this video because it just did not have that sort of an impact on me as this. The next book, which again is from the perspective of a child, a 12-year-old, is Almond. I love this book. I got this book simply for myself because I really wanted to read it. There was no other reason. I just saw it and I was like, I'm gonna try it out, and I tried it out. And this is the story of a 12-year-old who does not have a certain gland in his brain, because of which he has a condition called alexithymia. I was not saying the condition first because I thought I couldn't say it properly. Because of this condition, he is not able to feel or express any of his emotions. However, on 25th of December, which is probably when you're watching this, it's also his birthday, and his mother and his grandmother take him to a place where they have dinner and there are Christmas carols going on outside, and even though he doesn't feel anything, he's very accepted and loved by his family. When the Christmas carols are being sung, both of them, the grandmother and the mother, go outside and they're singing carols and everything is so nice, but they get killed in front of our protagonist 12-year-old, and because he cannot feel or express emotions, all he does is just stand there and watch. They are sliced open in front of him and he just stands there because he's not feeling any fear, he's not feeling any sadness, he's not feeling any anxiety, he's not feeling anything. And then we go on the journey of what he does after that incident. I read this in one sitting and I can't believe how deep rooted it has become in my heart. Every time I look at the cover, every time I'm just like looking at this book, I can feel for this guy. Okay, I can feel for him. I feel like I know him because I've been on the journey with him, and it's so beautiful. Again, very emotional and a very new and fresh story. It's very easy to read, can be read by beginners, and it's very short also. The next book that moved me and kind of like created an impact in my own personal life is The Sense of an Ending by Julian Barnes. This is a story of a guy who in the first half is talking about his experience with school and college and blah blah and his friends and everything, and we're like, oh okay fine, cool, you're living your life. And in the second half, he's old and he's just living his life until he finds one envelope that brings all of his past into his present, and the perspective with which he has been explaining the first half of his life completely shifts. The things that the guy has faced and the things that he has felt, he realizes he was wrong. And it made me realize that so many times there are like, I look at something from such a different perspective because of how I'm feeling at that time, and then some time passes and you either come to know something new about the entire situation, or something just clicks or hits, and when you look back you realize that you have suppressed so many things. There are so many holes in your memory because of which you were looking at it from a different perspective, and now that you have like all of those things have come up or those holes have been filled, the entire situation is completely different. I wouldn't suggest this to beginners unless you have read classics before, where books are really slow. There is an attention to detail and it's very extremely simple. The writing is beautiful obviously, but it's very simple, and there is a high chance that you can get bored if you're not used to that kind of pace, that kind of slowness in a book. Last but not the least, we have another love story, but it is so different from all the love stories that I generally read, and it really stole my heart, and it is Me Before You. This is the story of Lou, who's just living her life, and she is one of the biggest supporters, like financial supporters of her family, but then one day she loses her job and now she has to find another job, and she gets the job as a caretaker of a man. Now this man is where the story starts. He is like this really ambitious, amazing, proactive guy who loves the adrenaline rush, but he is in a wheelchair because of an accident. This is the story of Lou and Will, who has lost all hopes from his life. He's become the complete opposite of the adrenaline junkie and everything that he was, and Lou, our sweet little girl who's like so cute and so nice, who does not understand, and she's like so innocent and she doesn't really understand what is going on with Will, but then you see like they talk to each other and then you see what is going on. And as I said, it's a love story, so we read the story of their love. Again, very easy to read, beginner friendly, definitely give it a shot, though it is a little thick. It really stole my heart because of two reasons. One, it is a good mixture of being a cliche rom-com love story, but at the same time being very different from anything else that I have read before. At least when I read this book, I had not read something like this before. Two, it is very tragic, but at the same time, the tragedy itself has some sort of beauty in it. That beauty stays with you. Alrighty guys, that is it for today. I really hope you enjoyed the video. Hey, wait, I forgot one book. The last book is a thriller, and the book is How to Kill Your Family. This book, as the title suggests, is basically kind of like a guide of how to kill your family. No, I'm kidding. Grace, our protagonist in this book, has a family, and she's a daughter, and she's a sister, and she's like this really great woman, but at the same time, she's a serial killer who is ready to kill her own family. The entire purpose of her life is to get revenge for what has happened to her. We read this book from her perspective while she's in jail. So she's in jail and she's writing this book. I loved every moment of this book. Grace is the kind of character, the kind of person who is just really sophisticated and smart and amazing, and I think she's really beautiful and whatnot. So if she was not a serial killer, she would be this really powerful boss woman, you know. But the mix to it is that she's a serial killer. She's filled with self-love and she's filled with everything, but she's a serial killer. So what are you gonna do? On one hand, you really like her character because of how bossy and how cool she is. So you find her cool and amazing, but then on the other hand, she's a serial killer. Another amazing book to read. It's very easy language, so it's great for beginners, and it's funny and it's dark. And now finally, that is it. My camera is going to die. Please do stay tuned for all the content that is going to come up. I'm coming up with more recommendations and more vlogs of more famous books and recommendations like beginner friendly Japanese books or romance books and amazing recommendations coming up. So do stay tuned. I love you guys so much.